Today on the DML News Podcast, night 3 of DNC, the complete and utter fake show. That's what it was. Meanwhile, President Trump in North Carolina showing his bravery to the entire world. And that is why the betting odds show that Trump is back in the lead. We've got a great show for you today. It's live and it's all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today. I got Ryan, my son, on the controls. I got Denny. He's sitting across from me as my co-host, and we're going to come to you today with a great live show here. We're on Rumble. We're on Team DML Live. We appreciate you being with us. We know that there are other people you could be watching, but we think that this is the best show with the best audience in all of the United States of America. In fact, Dennis, I'm going to go worldwide if I may. All right. Each and every day, my inbox is filled. It's filled with commentary from people who are very, very concerned about the future of the United States of America. They can't understand how it is that Joe Biden became president. They think the election was stolen from them, or at least they've got thoughts that it could have been. They look at Kamala Harris and they say, how does she get there? I don't understand it. She couldn't even make it to the Iowa caucuses when she was running for president. Everybody says she was a train wreck. Just a couple of months ago, she was a liability to Joe Biden, and now all of a sudden, she's the queen. She represents communism. People they're scared. People are concerned from all aspects of the country, whether you're in the north, the south, the east, the west. People are very nervous. They're losing their jobs. They can't find a job if they need one. The expenses for everything do not show any signs of easing. Yeah, they say they're going to lower interest rates, but they're so high. How low are they really going to go? Everything around us right now is crumbling. And you look at the two different candidates and you say, how can any poll be showing that Kamala Harris is neck and neck with Trump, like in Florida, where we dominate, and I mean dominate, with a Republican mainstay that's here, especially seeing that we have the greatest governor in all of the land, and somebody like I move from New York because I want to get away from the liberalism. I come down here to Florida. I change from being an independent to a Republican so I can support my guy in the primary. How is it that Kamala Harris is neck and neck? Well, the truth is she's not. And as I've told you, these polls are lies. They are manipulated. They are picked randomly. So this way there could be a message sent to you. So this way you don't show up. Well, there's another way that you can measure whether there's enthusiasm for a candidate or not. Now, you could drive around America if you've got that kind of time and money to put into the gas tank, and you could look at all the Trump signs and try to compare them and count them to the Harris signs. But I've got a much easier way for you to do that. There's this little thing called the Polymarket. And what it is a website, and it's sort of like a betting universe, if you will, where everybody can bet, lay your odds down on who is going to win the presidential election. Now, to me, this is the greatest poll of all because there's no manipulation in it. It is where people are placing their money. I'm going to bet $100 that Trump's going to win. I'm going to bet $200 that Kamala's going to win. I want to give you today what it is the numbers look like after 3 nights of the DNC in Chicago. Now, before I give you these numbers, I want you to remember something very, very important. Political conventions are designed to create momentum for the party and the candidates. There's no doubt it works. Look what happened with Trump. You couldn't have had it more perfect for Trump. He almost gets killed through an assassination. And then within days, he's got his party's convention. It was as if God laid out the perfect script. And there he is with his wounded ear, and he gets up there like a bold champion and like the most brave man in America and says, no gunman is going to take me down. No fear is going to stop me from delivering a Make America Great Again message to you, my fellow American, and to the person who believes that I can lead us back to a better place. This is a man who won't quit. This is a man who believes, and I'm with him in that belief, that the last election was stolen from him. That they have tried to put him through every kangaroo court possible in this country so this way they can ruin him, put him behind bars. They have tried to make him go broke with fake kangaroo courts. $90 million to a woman he says he never even met, who can't remember exactly where she was or what she was wearing or when it happened, but she knows that Trump sexually assaulted her. And then he gets nailed for $500 million for basically putting an assigned value, an estimated value to a property, so this way he could get insurance or a loan, and says to both the insurance company and the loaning company, please make sure you do your own due diligence. This is just a number I put out there. They come back and say, we love doing business with Trump. We would do it again. We made money on it. He paid all of his debts. Nobody got screwed. There's no victim. But the state of New York is going to tell him you owe $500 million and you're not going to do any business in here anymore. What the hell is that? Then he's nailed on 34 felonies of BS, basically assigning to a ledger a check written to his lawyer as a legal expense. What was he supposed to put it down as? A travel expense? They are trying to destroy this man, his reputation, his life, his family, his businesses, everything, because they want communism to run wild in this country. Barack Obama wants it, and he knows he can have his puppet, Kamala Harris, do it for him. But the American people are going to say, no, you're not going to sell these polls. I don't want that. I don't need that in my life. I want Trump back. And so this morning, despite having her convention, and unlike Trump, who after his convention got a pop, the Democrats are fading fast, as if you dropped a rock in a pond and just waited for it to hit the bottom. Because their convention is filled with nonsense and fake messaging. Their convention has no hope. It has no change. It has absolutely no plan. All it has is one narrative. Trump sucks. And it just isn't selling. It isn't sticking. When you look right now at the numbers on the Polymarket betting market, let me give you what it looks like. Nationally, Trump is beating her 53-46. That is a huge margin in politics. As far as it goes with the swing states, Trump is leading in Georgia, 61-39. Pennsylvania 51-49, Nevada 54-46, Arizona 53-47. And for some crazy reason, and stay tuned on this because this too shall flip, Wisconsin right now gives it to her at 56-44, and Minnesota 61-39. I don't know who is betting on Michigan going to Kamala, but I'm going to take that bet. Because Trump is going to wipe the slate clean. I come on here every single day, and usually my DML report reflects something that is horribly happening in this country. And it pains me to say it to you. It pains me to have to report it. I hate it. I want to be positive. I want to try to give you something that is just so filled with promise that you end this show and say, I can't wait for tomorrow because DML and Denny and Ryan are going to give me another thing positive that I could get through my day, knowing that my country that I love, that my relatives, my forefathers fought for, some of them died for. It's going to be here tomorrow, and it's going to be better than it was the day before because we're going to have real leadership in place. I struggle to find that message for you quite often. Today is not one of those days. Today is a day where I can proudly sit here and I can say to you, without any doubt in my soul, with any doubt in my brain or my heart or my being as a person, Donald J. Trump is going to win this election, and he is going to win it in a way that Kamala Harris is never going to stick her head up again. She's going to hide in a room, and we're going to never hear from her again. And hopefully Barack Obama will be gone, and we'll never have to hear from him again, because the pendulum is going to change. There is going to be a new attitude in this country. Conservatism is going to take over, and it is going to run. It is going to run for decades. And everything that we remember about when we grew up, everything that we remember that was great in this country, the pride, the chills that you got, the part that made you feel so patriotic and you wanted to get up in the morning and you said, yeah, we're going to beat the Russians in hockey. Yeah, we're going to get our spaceships to the skies. Yeah, we're going to be able to do better than anybody else. Don't screw with me. I'm an American. Don't even dare think about coming in and invading my country. That is going to come back, and you are going to feel like $1 million. And I got 2 videos that Ryan is going to wind up playing on top of me as I speak, to just make you feel it, to make you feel the enthusiasm that I have today. President Trump was in North Carolina yesterday. He's given a speech, and I know he hates it. He hates having to be behind bulletproof glass. It's just not him. It's not his way. But they're making him do it because they don't want to see him get hurt again. And so there he is behind his bulletproof glass. And he's looking around and he's giving his speech. And then all of a sudden he sees that there's a woman in the audience. She's passed out. He doesn't think about himself. He doesn't think about his safety. He doesn't think about the fact that he can't trust the Secret Service. He moves out without any warning, and he goes and he makes sure that this woman is okay. And he goes up to her and he gives her a hug. And he says to her, "Are you okay?" And she comes back up and she says, thank you so much." That right there, that is a man of courage. That is a man of bravery. That is a man who represents America and the American spirit, and you are not going to take him down. And when I see that sort of thing, I say, when this man tells you that he's going to secure the border and he's going to lower inflation and he's going to get the world back in some sort of stable condition to where we don't have to worry about having a nuclear war the next day, I feel as if he means it, as if he's going to do it. Because for him, nothing is about fake. For him, everything is about reality. And for Donald J. Trump, the reality is this: come hell or high water, he is going to make America great again. And we're going to be there right with him doing it along the way. It's going to happen. The road's going to be really bumpy to get there, but it's worth traveling. And we're going to travel it together, and we're going to win. And when we do, I think each of us is going to shed a little bit of a tear, because we've had to have such a brutal fight to get to what should just be normal practice for everybody. The normal practice of being able to walk up to anybody in the street, no matter their color, no matter their race, shake their hand, say where you're from, they say where you're from, and feel as if you're on the same team. The United States of America will come back together again under this man, the most bravest man I have ever witnessed in all of my 55 years, and that's Donald J. Trump. Dennis, I'm almost embarrassed for the Democrats. Their convention is so woke, it is so broke, and it is so empty. What is your take when you just look at it as a whole, without going into individual speeches and stuff? We'll get into that. But what is your take when you look at that and you see what it is that they're displaying?
I have one word: desperate. And we always talk about how a central theme of the Democrats is hatred, but we just finished night 3 last night, and if I had to give that one word as to a summary, it's desperate. They have to pull in the celebrities. They have to pull in, the fake supporters. They have to pretend and ignore that there isn't chaos outside the stadium with those crazy radical protesters. They have to pretend that everything Kamala just committed for 4 years as the second go-to never really happened, and that when she goes in, she's going to fix everything right up. Well, that whole premise, what is she fixing if she's been doing everything correctly? So there is a absolute sense of desperation, and it's just kind of clear. I mean, Biden didn't stick around. Obama came in, did his speech. He's not there again. It's
Kamala's not there.
Kamala's not even there. I know we're going to talk about that little nice fake phone call they staged yet again. I don't know who keeps telling them it's a good idea to do those things, but it's a sense of desperation because their whole imaging and their whole premise is to show that we really have it together. We really have something to fight for. We have a platform, and yet their platform is very non-detailed. They're clearly not unified if they can't even all get under the same roof together and stay there for 4 days straight. And the messaging just doesn't resonate with anyone. I mean, again, we have a video coming up with Chris Cuomo. He used to be the biggest mouthpiece for that group, and yet he just, I think, probably had, coincidentally, the best speech last night, and he wasn't even on the stage. So I think there's just an open air of desperation at that convention.
When you look at the convention and speech after speech after speech after speech, it's a rinse and repeat, Trump sucks. He's a monster. He's horrible. He's bad for democracy. And when you look at Trump, he's starting to incorporate some of what people have been asking for. Michelle Obama, Barack Obama on Tuesday night absolutely blast him. And what he does is he pulls a Reagan. When people used to poke at Reagan, he would come back at them with laughter and niceness and a smile. And it's almost impossible to kick somebody back in the teeth when they're nice to you. So Trump said, when he was asked about the commentary from both of them, he said, oh, you know what? They're nice people. I respect them. I respect him. I respect her. And I mean, he's just he's just going nuts thinking that that's the answer he has to give. But it's so smart because it really it dampens that whole message. Now, Trump, you want to compare what it is that we've got. Trump yesterday is in North Carolina, and he's talking about substance. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, he made promises to the military. And he said to them, if you were removed because you wouldn't take that mandatory jab, I'm going to put you back to work. I'm going to give you back pay. He says, and we're going to make America military great again. And by the way, those woke people in the Pentagon right now, guess what? After my inauguration, I want your resignation on my desk. So he is making promises. Whereas if you go back to Michelle Obama, and we're going to go over the speeches from last night in a second, but if you go back to Michelle Obama, think about this. She doesn't talk about anything that has anything to do with policy or anybody's heartache in this country. Instead, she goes railing on Trump. Now, what I find to be so ironic and so fake and sort of the, if you will, the blueprint for the DNC, here's a woman who's worth $70 million at this point. She's got homes that are just all multi-million-dollar homes everywhere. Her $70 million is the result of the one and only thing she's ever accomplished in her life, and that is being the first black first lady. So she hasn't done a damn thing, right? She gets up there with her $3,000 outfit, banging on Trump, who made all of his money from hard work and a life of dedication to taking risk and being an entrepreneur. She's giving out a fake message. This is a very rich woman. She's in the top 1%. She hangs out all day long with white women from TV and Hollywood. She sits there and puts on this black twang. She gets her blackness back and trying to relate to the American person, telling them that, we don't have affirmative generational wealth. Her kid is going to inherit hundreds of millions of dollars by the time she's done. So the message there, it's fake throughout, top to bottom.
It is fake. And I just want to touch on, with Trump there, because a big thing that has always been in discussion and more so recently has been, okay, can Trump get a little more detailed on the policies? He always has been, but he really will get to the nitty gritty. And if I had maybe one of the minor criticisms of his administration, I think I speak for you too, it was Operation Warp Speed. Now, hindsight is 2020. I think we always have to remember that those early days of the pandemic had lots of people in confusion. I mean, talk about revising numbers. We talked about that with the jobs report. We were hearing catastrophe during those first 6 months of when COVID first broke out. So when you have a president there who's never had a precedent of what came before in this kind of situation, he's listening to Fauci because his advisors are telling him, he never was in the mindset of, okay, I'm going to support this vaccine, but you have to take it. He's never been a mandate guy. So for him to go there and say, yeah, you know what, I may have been on the forefront of Operation Warp Speed, but I was never in favor of this idea that you had to be vaccinated in order to work or to serve. I think it's important he's going up there and saying, hey, you got screwed over by these mandates and these continued mandates after we already figured out how much bogusness there was wrapped around the pandemic. Here is me saying, I want to help you out for what was unjustly done to you. So, between him just showing his empathy of, leaving the glass paneling to go help that lady, there is no doubt in my mind Trump has an unbridled love for America than any other politician that I could really recall to name, maybe with DeSantis and his love for Florida in the last few years. So you see that and you realize that he is trying his absolute best. And then you have, the DNC here that is just pushing lies, and they want to speak to certain Americans. And who are you to determine who's a real American, like Michelle said in that speech? It's a great juxtaposition to kind of just show why, Trump is just the man when it comes to that stuff, and yet the DNC, the best that they can do is Obama.
So I want to stick on the fakeness of the DNC here for the next couple of minutes. Oprah Winfrey was the big name last night, or I should say one of the big names last night that appeared on stage. Some reason, I guess now she's supporting communism, despite the fact that she has made a fortune for herself through capitalism, but she is endorsing Harris. She got up there and gave a speech. Ryan's going to get it up right now. And it's just absolutely bizarre as to what this woman said. Let's play it, and then we're going to explain why it's so bizarre. Go ahead, Ryan.
From the redwood forests, love those redwoods, to the Gulf Stream waters, I've seen racism and sexism and income inequality and division. I've not only seen it, at times I've been on the receiving end of it.
Dennis, do me a favor. Go through Oprah Winfrey's net assets, what she has. Go ahead, net worth.
So in 1989, she becomes a millionaire. But by 1995, her net worth crossed $500 million. By 2000, she was a billionaire. Estimated every year, she is making just about $300 million. She owns $200 million worth of real estate. No doubt, she is also she is the richest self-made woman in America, if she doesn't even want you to think that. She owns 900 acres of land in Maui, and she also owns 13 properties in Hawaii alone. Now, one little thing I just want to add that I find a little funny, and I think our audience will too. CBS, obviously loves their Democrats. They quoted another part of her speech real quick that I'll read, and I just want to read the top comment that is related to it. So she had said last night, "When a house is on fire, we don't ask about the homeowner's race or religion. We don't wonder who their partner is or how they voted. No. We just try to do the best we can to save them. And if the place happens to belong to a childless cat lady, well, we try to get the cat out too." And the number one rated comment under that is, "Unless it's her neighbors in Hawaii." Because if you remember with the Lahaina fires, she tried doing a whole charity scam with The Rock, trying to raise money for those burnt down houses, and it went nowhere. And a lot of people asked, why don't you actually put a helping hand in there?
So we've got Oprah Winfrey. She's got $3 billion, and she's got houses all over Hawaii. She's got money coming in through the yin-yang. She's got $300 million estimated per year. She is going to sit there and tell the people of the United States of America that Kamala Harris is the answer to their problems. And then on top of that, that she has suffered through racism. Oprah Winfrey suffered through racism. If I recall correctly, her show was built on the back of white women who tuned in every single day to watch that overrated person just bloviate. And she's got the nerve to sit there and pretend as if she has been a victim of race. She is the world's most successful woman in media. This country did not treat her like she was a thing to throw away. She was not the victim of race or racism. She was somebody who was given a chance because somebody saw talent in her and she ran with it. God bless her. She worked her ass off and she became a billionaire because that's what this country gives her the opportunity for. You think she would thank those people who got her to where she is, in addition to her own fuel inside, that you think she would give that sort of speech, a rousing speech that says, you can be just like me. You can be anything you want, and it doesn't matter what color you are. But she doesn't know how to give that kind of speech because Democrats don't know how to give that speech, because no matter how much you give them, whether it's Michelle Obama, 70 million, or Barack Obama, being the most powerful man in the world as far as I'm concerned, or Oprah Winfrey, she got everything she wants, it's never enough for a Democrat. They want to keep on taking away from people. They want to keep on calling people names. And God forbid, you're a white guy. You want to talk about racism? I'll tell you right now, anybody who watched that speech last night, if you're a black person who really is subjected to racism, you must have been nauseated by that. But I'll tell you what, I'm pissed off watching that thing too, because she's got some nerve. The white people in this country right now are subjected to unbelievable white racism. We get racism left and right. And if you're a white male with a Christian with a cross around your neck, forget about it. The racism against you is unbelievable. You're on every single last government watch list. That's racist. So I don't want to hear Oprah Winfrey and her $3 billion trying to tell me, my family, and the rest of this country that she is this poor victim of racism. My ass. What you are is the benefit of a great country that isn't racist. So you should just stop giving that narrative, because we're never going to get out of this place for as long as we got people like her getting up there and giving you fake news. Now, as far as fakeness goes, I thought the Democrats were supposed to be the champions, the party of women. I thought this was all supposed to be about the woman. Who in their right mind would give the stage to Bill Clinton? Bill Clinton. We got Donald Trump, who was unfairly put into a courtroom in New York from some woman who he says he never met before, who is just, as far as I'm concerned, so grotesque he wouldn't even look at her. She's going to sit there and say he sexually assaulted me. She can't remember exactly when, exactly where she was, or all the other different jazz that went. He's going to get bagged for $90 million, and everybody's going to say he's horrible to women. He's a misogynist. He's this, he's that. He's horrible. Bill Clinton is invited to speak. And yet, how many women have actually said that Bill Clinton has raped them? How many have said that he sexually assaulted them? Women that he admitted to know. And if you don't want those stories, what about the one that he admitted to? Taking a young intern, a young, vulnerable young girl, and taking her into the Oval Office and actually having sexual interludes with her, and then reportedly taking a cigar and sticking it up her private parts. He's never paid a price for it. He's the most evil man that there is when it comes to women. And they're going to invite him on the stage? You want to talk about fake news? You want to talk about hypocrisy? That's it right there in a nutshell. I don't want to hear anything the Democrats have to say, because they have absolutely no credit.
I think that's why ultimately it is the theme of desperation, because if the Democrats really were doing so well and they had nothing to worry about and things were going peachy keen on all sides, meaning their voter base and internally, they wouldn't need to bring out Bill Clinton. I think what that attempt was to try to get back those moderate Democrats that were originally all for the party, and they've watched over the last 10 years how radical the left has actually gone in. But the truth is, it's a piss poor attempt, because he is, like you just said, the worst person to represent the modern feminism movement of the Democrat Party, considering he has no respect for women whatsoever.
Then you go to the next fake guy, Walz. The nerve on this man. He gets up there last night and he's talking about and bragging about his service. This is a man who lied about what rank he served in, lied about going to see combat. Let me tell you something. The only war zone that Mr. Walz has seen is the scene outside Chicago, because that looks like a war zone. That looks like the Gaza Strip. We've got a lot of people out there who are, champion for the Muslim terrorists, burning American flags, hitting cops, and picking on innocent people. That's the only war zone this guy's ever seen before. This is a man who has shot paintballs at his own citizens, who put down a curfew of ridiculousness, took old people that were sick and put them into nursing homes. This guy is the worst man in the country when it comes to radicalization. He makes the governor of California look like Ronald Reagan. This is how bad he is. The fakeness that he gets up there. And then, we got a video, Ryan's going to play it, of his son. Now, I know his son has a little something wrong with him, right? What's the story on the son?
He's neurodivergent and has a learning disorder.
Okay. So, you know what? Welcome to the United States of America, because, we're filled with children who are afflicted with one thing or another, and we just all blow it off all the time, right? So this kid is, crying out loud that his father is, the VP, and he's all proud of it and stuff like that. And that's probably the only moment in the whole thing where I said, oh, wow, there's a little authenticity, is from the 17-year-old who's all happy to see his dad. He loves his dad. I mean, I get it. Everybody should love their dad, right? So at the end of the day, that is the only time that I ever saw anything that was remotely real in the whole thing. And all I could think to myself when I saw it was, boy, you think that kid's crying because his father's happy? Wait until you see America cry if he becomes the vice president. Again, another person standing up, giving a fake message. It's almost as if he doesn't read the headlines. Dennis, wasn't there a note or a letter or something from veterans?
50 military veterans, and it's a signed letter just basically targeting Tim Walz for the fact that he lied about his record and kind of dealing with the whole stolen valor situation. And it's just funny because he's doing the Kamala approach. He won't answer any questions about it, won't try to clear the air, which is always usually a sign of, okay, there's obviously some truth to it. And when you read his background of how he, kind of was and you did a podcast on it not too long ago, meddling with how he wants to represent his rank, but he's actually a lower rank than what's, he's actually establishing and saying. It just, again, shows that the entire party is based off lies, deception, and falsehoods. So, it's nice and cute, I guess, that his kid is crying, but maybe, he should be a better father and be representative of what he actually did in the past and not try and lie about it.
Sticking on Walz here for a second, the thing about Trump that's great, the thing about Trump that people love is that he's authentic. He's authentic. If Trump is at a restaurant, fast food, he's Trump. If Trump is in the boardroom, he's Trump. If he's at the White House, he's Trump. You get one guy all the time. He's not apologetic, and you're not going to get him to do some fake little skit. Have you ever seen Trump do a fake little skit at the White House or anything promotional? No, he doesn't have to, because he is completely authentic. On the other flip side, when you've got Tim Tampon Walz and you've got freaking Kamala communism, you cannot get authentic, because these people lie. And when you're a liar and you're a fake, there's no way you can find authenticity, let alone cool. We're going to play a video right now of these two faking a phone call with each other, and it is grotesque.
Tim, it's Kamala. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. How about you?
I'm good. You're going to be fantastic tonight.
Well,
So good.
I'm ready. Thanks for the opportunity. It's going to be electric in there, and the messages this entire week are so great. So go down there and deliver a freedom speech.
That's right. And you know what? Like, just feel the love in the room. It's if we've been seeing it everywhere we go. Enjoy the moment. It's a special night for you.
Well, thank you, and it's good advice. I am really looking forward to it. I think the Minnesotans are going to be pretty close, so it'll be fun. We'll talk to you when it's over.
I'll talk to you when it's over. Take care, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
A speech about freedom coming from the guy who had the most draconian mandates and restrictions during COVID, freedom, this guy wouldn't know what freedom was if it kicked him in the ass. Freedom, the guy who ran out on his battalion before they were deployed out to go overseas to fight in a war, that's freedom to this guy? This guy doesn't know freedom. This guy knows communism. And we're not going to be tricked by it. Because if you look on Twitter, to this day, communism is still trending. It's a hashtag that isn't going away. Although, thankfully, Tim is. He's going to be going back to Minnesota because Donald J. Trump is going to be the next president of the United States, along with J.D. Vance, vice president.
Of course. I truly believe that, all withstanding any election interference or any little fraudulent schemes behind the scenes, he should be the one to win. I just continue to see these on-the-street videos. I mean, Elon Musk's poll just ended, I think, this morning. 73% for Trump, 27% for Kamala. And kind of like what you said, there is just an overround authenticity to Trump. He is just who he is, maybe to a fault, because sometimes people are like, oh, he should have listened to that lawyer or this advisor because he said this or that. But that's the point. Don't you want someone who's actually going to, speak his mind and do what he is all about rather than be artificial and fabricated? That's what makes, Trump Trump and not like any other standard politician. And there was even this woman, her name's Blair White, and she was one of those people doing the on-the-street interviews. And shockingly, there were some older white liberals saying they're going to vote for Kamala. And, she asked, like, why are you voting for Kamala? And it's the same routine answer, like, oh, I don't have to give a reason. Like, oh, it's obvious. Or, she stands for democracy. Like, what the hell does that mean? And then she's doing some interviews with people who are minorities. Like this one black woman gave a great answer. She's like, because he loves America. Like you could see old videos from him in the 80s talking about his unbridled love for America. And that's translated very well, decades later. So I think truthfully that Trump is showcasing, whether it's at a rally and maybe hopefully he has some town halls coming up. I think he should try and do that. I wish there was more debates, but that's on Kamala's end. I think he just needs to showcase how much he loves America and the American people to really just give that representation that there is nothing phony or fake about him. I mean, you would never catch him doing one of those fake, phony phone calls like Tim and Kamala are doing.
We are going to talk about one more fake human being right now. We're going to introduce you right now to a guy named Sheriff Javier Salazar. Mr. Salazar was up on stage pushing for Kamala Harris. And yet, just not long ago, he was on MSNBC begging Kamala Harris to please come down to the border because the influx of illegal aliens, traffickers, terrorists, and drug mules are taking over the border. How do you go from somebody who is begging the administration to come down and take a look at a problem that is crippling America and then go and stand on stage and say, this is the woman who is taking care of the border? Play the video, Ryan.
Now, Kamala, on the other hand, has been fighting border crime for years. She's gone down to Mexico and worked to stop the traffickers. And when the traffickers didn't stop, she put them in jail.
Tell us about what you are asking for. What are your needs?
Well, right now, thank you for having me, first off. Right now, what I'm asking for is for the president or a member of his administration that can make decisions to come down and talk to not just me, but at least 12 other Texas sheriffs from major counties in the state of Texas that are dealing with this issue firsthand. So I'd like to see somebody from Washington come down here, get boots on the ground, get eyes on the issue at hand, and then talk to us, a bipartisan group of Texas sheriffs that are really taking a common sense approach because we have to.
Let me tell you something. That guy right there is slime. He's a scum. Let me tell you why he's a slime and a scum. Not only is he a lying, fake man of law enforcement, but what he did by going up on stage and lying through his teeth that Kamala Harris is the person who is making the border a safe place, he is putting his fellow police officer, fellow sheriff, deputy, and Border Patrol agent in grave danger. That man is the most irresponsible person that I have seen so far at the DNC. You can talk about the fake conversations about racism and Michelle Obama and Mike drop Barack Obama, and even tonight with Kamala, she's going to be an absolute disaster. But that man right there is slime. He's putting lives in danger. If he was a real man, if he had any set of manhood in him, what he would have done is got on that stage and said, you know what, I faked my way here, but let me tell you right now that if you vote for this woman, Kamala Harris, you will have a terror attack in the United States of America. Your kid is likely going to be poisoned by fentanyl. Your kid may actually be wound up being raped, killed, or murdered by an illegal alien or a gang member from MS-13 or otherwise. Your country is going to collapse because you can no longer afford to pay for the people who are coming in here, dropping babies at $50,000 a clip that you're paying for, EBT cards, you name it. If he had any sense of manhood, that's what he would have done, but he didn't. Instead, he tried to make himself sound like he was a hero, and he did that for one or two different things. A, which I doubt, but the accusation is he got paid off. But B, somebody, and this is where I believe, promised this guy a job in the administration. All he had to do was compromise who he was. So, Mr. Salazar, I tell you what, you are what we call a piece of fill in the blank.
I think that speech had to probably be the worst one, just to your point. It was just, quite frankly, effing disgusting. You can expect it from Obama. You can expect it from Hillary, just the phoniness, the sliminess, the lies, because that's just kind of what they've grown into. But then you have that contrast video of him in that report and then him on the stage, and you just got to wonder, like, how big was that check to cash into your account to go up there and say those things? Like, you were hired to protect the people. You are the one who clearly sees the day-to-day that what you're spewing is so false, and yet he just went up there and lied with a smile on his face. It almost looked like he was like trying to put on a show as he's trying to spout that, you know, Kamala really fulfilled the border czar, you know, prophecy that Biden bestowed upon her. And honestly, it was sickening watching that. And I'm just hoping people see through that what he just did was just so awful.
Well, the proverbial check. There's no doubt he did it for the sake of trying to enhance his own career.
Yeah.
Either he is looking to run for governor or Congress or Senate, or he's looking for a position within the administration if the administration does materialize to be the Kamala presidency. But I would even say that that's a high risk for him. I think what he was trying to do through last night and changing his tune is he was trying to embed himself with the powers that be within the Democrat Party, so this way you will see from him again at a much more powerful position somewhere in government. And that is the sickening thing about where we are as a country. And I can't believe that on this show I'm about to play this clip. I mean, Chris Cuomo, the former CNN, disgraced, I should say, CNN anchor, is now at this place called News Nation. And he's trying to make a name for himself again. He's trying to come back. And it's funny because when you listen to him periodically, I'll see a clip of him. He's trying to change his tune a little bit, trying to distance himself from what he was at CNN, which was a full propagandist for the left and for his brother, who was the king of lies himself. So last night, for almost 3 minutes, he rails on the Democrats. He also brings in the Republicans as well, but he rails on the Democrats for selling $500,000 and up booths to corporate sponsors, and then at the same time trying to make it sound as if they're going to crack down on those same corporate sponsors for gouging. So we're going to play this because this is such an unbelievable video that I can't believe he actually said what he said. I want to play it in full, so this way you get a full sense for what it is that he's talking about nowadays and how true of what it is that he's saying here. Play.
A big theme here at the DNC is that they're going to go after corporate gouging, and they're going to go after corporations. whether it's in taxes, largesse, loopholes. The RNC, we heard the same thing. They're going after the elites, the two sets of rules. Let me reveal a reality to you that has to be spoken to here, okay? These are the soldiers. These are the men and the women that go back to their constituencies and their communities, and they fight. They take time from their jobs. They take time from their families. Republicans and Democrats alike, that's what they do. They need to charge these people up. They need to be able to get them on board. But there's another reality that is literally looking down on them. Greg, look at the ring of sweets, okay? This is not unique to Democrats. There is a game of money. When people talk about uniparty, we are strangled by the money reality in our politics. Those suites start at 500 grand. You think there's like a teacher group up in there? You think it's like the Cub Scouts of Columbia County, South Carolina, that's up in those boxes? Some of them are lobbies and good things. The media boxes, you think they're free? Why do you think I'm on the floor? News Nation is not a broke company. Nexstar is a massive organization. We are corporate media. We don't have one of those boxes because that's the game. You pay to play. Those boxes are filled with the same people that they say they're going to regulate. They are literally looking down on the faithful and being told, yeah, we're going to break down on them. We're going to make them pay their share. They paid $500, $700, $1 million, $1.5 million to have those seats. They get hotel suites that are probably gifted to the party. And the same thing is true with the Republican side. And they're going to take them down. They're going to change how it is. They are looking down from on high at the people who make the difference in their communities. And that is the reality of politics. And I had my producer walk around and show you those suites. Now, they're not all the same. They're not all the same. But the reality is, in 2000, they spent $300 million on presidential campaigns. 24 years later, you know what they're expected to spend? $10 billion. Do you know how much money Harris has raised in the last couple of weeks? Hundreds of millions. And that's success. A lot of it's small donor, a lot of it isn't. The most dangerous money in politics is now legal money because of Citizens United. You've got to know this. The idea that they can fight against it is almost laughable. It's almost laughable. So look and listen when you are told these things. Because I don't care what they promise you. Not here tonight, not at the RNC, not that Trump knows them, not that they don't own them. He did one of the biggest fundraisers I've ever heard of in my life out where I live. Millions of dollars a plate. That's the reality of politics.
You know, you can take the CNN, I should say that differently. You can take the liberal out of CNN, but you could never take the CNN out of the liberal. So he just can't put a message out that the Democrats are selling booths for $500,000 plus. He's then got to rip Trump in too to try to make it as if he's going this even Steven. Let me tell Mr. Cuomo what the difference there is. Donald Trump never gets on the stage and lies to people and says, yeah, I'm going to be cracking down on Home Depot and I'm going to be cracking down on Elon Musk. He doesn't say it. He'd be the first one to tell you, Trump will be the first one to tell you that corporate money should not be in the elections. He's the first one to tell you that the reason why he knows how D.C. works is because he used to buy his way through D.C. But Chris Cuomo won't want to say that. He wants to group Trump in there with the Democrats who, unlike Trump, will sit up there on stage, look you right in the eye and say, we are going to crack down on every single one of these huge sponsors, these huge corporations that are gouging you. And meanwhile, they're taking their checks. So you know and I know what Cuomo said was true. They're never going to crack down on anybody because they have their friends up there in high places who are looking down at the little people. I agree with him. But don't drag Trump in there. Trump does not make pretend. He knows that corporate money is involved in elections. And I bet you if you ask Trump, but nobody would ever ask him because they only want to call him a racist and a misogynist. If you were to ask him, do you think we should strip money out of the election process? He'd be the first person to say yes. Citizens United made this happen to where all this corporate money and special interest money is involved. It shouldn't be the case. Here's what it should be. If I were the king of America and I could make this happen tomorrow, here's how it is. It doesn't matter whether you're a corporation, whether you're a PAC, whether you're Dennis Michael Lynch or Joe Blow from Idaho. Everybody can put the same dollar amount in with a cap for a campaign, and that is it. As an American citizen, I need to feel like my vote is weighed just as heavily as it is that some corporate sponsor is going to have it. Everybody in this country is equal at one time and one time only. And that's the reality of it. We are all equal on election day. That's the way it should be. It doesn't matter whether you're fat, skinny, tall, short, black, white, rich, poor. Left, right, doesn't matter. Middle doesn't matter. You're an American. You get one vote and one vote only, and damn it, you better show your voter ID. And I want to talk about that for a second. I just voted on a primary on Tuesday here in Florida. I walked in. Woman said to me, okay, are you voting today? I said, yes. She says, can you get your voter ID? Can you get your license out? I said, absolutely. I walked into the next room. Man was there. He said, I need you to stand right here. You'll be the next one up. Please get your license out. Okay, very good. I went over to the woman. I said, yes, I'd like to vote. She said, okay, what's your name? I gave her my name. She said, could I see your license, please? Gave her the license, scanned it. My name came up. She checked the signature. I had a sign that I was taking my ballot and that it was all explained to me. She gave me back my license. I went, I put in my vote, and I was done. I never felt as if there was anything that was racist or evil or discriminatory. If you can't show somebody your license to prove who you are, get out of this country. You have no right to vote. That's it.
Right. And it needs to be airtight. I mean, that same vote, that primary, me and Ryan went to a polling station, and accidentally, it wasn't my correct polling station. And the guy told me right away after he checked my ID, he's like, oh, actually, you have to vote at this polling station. If this was in a blue city, it'd be like, okay, you could go to this one, this one, this one, this one. And if it's our candidate of choice, we'll count it 5 times. So, it was definitely airtight, and I would love to see that if we can maybe get that implemented on a national scale, so we know that our elections are definitely without consequence or without flaw.
When you talk about racism, I mean, that's what it is that Democrats have spent this whole week doing. Racism, 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 racism. Let me tell you what true racism is. True racism is for any politician to stand up and take a look at the American people and say to them that the Republicans and Trump and everybody else who wants voter ID is a racist, that it is a way to prevent people from voting, and that is racist. No, it's not. If anything, the person who gives that message is the racist, because Kamala Harris or Barack Obama or Joe Biden or Nancy Pelosi, you pick whoever it is that you want to get to be the Democrat to give that message. What they're basically saying to the black people of this country or to the Latinos of this country is that you're not smart enough to go out and figure out how to get yourself a voter ID or a license, so this way you can show somebody who you are. That is a racist statement. You are demeaning these people. You are undermining these people by saying that they don't have the intelligence to go get a little piece of paper that says who they are. That is racism.
Do you want a little insight onto the corporate sponsors that Cuomo was referring to that have supported or donated for the DNC?
Absolutely.
So this is just a few of them. You have CME Group, you got United Airlines, BMO, McDonald's, Microsoft, Bank of America, and Pfizer.
No shock there. No shock there. I mean, think about that for a second. I think CME, is CME a food group?
I thought it was electronic. Let me look.
Who did you say in there that was food?
Financial.
Other than McDonald's.
BMO, McDonald's, CME, United Airlines, Microsoft, Bank of America.
Yeah.
I know PepsiCo apparently.
All right,
too.
so PepsiCo.
Yeah.
So do you think for one moment, so PepsiCo, let's just say PepsiCo paid $500,000 to have a private booth. Do you think for 1 second that Kamala Harris is going to wind up making the phone call to Pepsi and say, hey, by the way, I know you paid $500,000 and all the other different things that you did for me. Thank you. But we're going to have to dictate how much you're going to be selling cans of Pepsi for. They're going to say, are you kidding me? I bought myself you, and you are not going to do that. You're not going to do that, because if you do that, you're never going to run again. And that's where it is. You see, there's 2 things that we can do to change this country for the better, not just today, not just tomorrow, but for the long haul. Number 1, strip out all corporate money and special interest money. That's number 1. Number 2, and maybe comes before number 1, is you have to strip these politicians from being able to make D.C. their lifelong career. We need term limits, because what winds up happening is these people that are basically running every 2 years in the House, they spend their entire life going out and raising money. That's all they do. All they do is raise money. And so they need that money to win the next election. And if they don't give what it is their donors want, they're never back. So what happens is they get paid. They know they could go back to the well. They just got to make sure that they put forward bills and that they champion for whatever it is their special interests want. I've seen it a gazillion million times. There's no doubt in my mind. I'll give you an example of one, and I'll probably upset people because they're going to be like, oh my God, I didn't know that. One of the, big, huge names on D.C. on the Republican side is this guy, Thomas Massie, all right, out of Kentucky. Everybody, Thomas Massie, Thomas Massie, Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie is the one Republican who I hear all the time saying, nope, don't want mandatory E-Verify. Don't want it. Why wouldn't you want mandatory E-Verify? How can you say in one hand that you want voter ID, but you don't want to have the same sort of parameters for an illegal alien to get a job? Didn't make sense to me. So I went in and I took a look at who the number one donor was for Thomas Massie. And would you know it? It was a meat packaging company. Who do you think they're hiring time and time again? So you know what they said? Hey, listen, Massie, I'll give you whatever it is that you want for your campaign, but you've got to fight. We can't have this mandatory you have mandatory E-Verify. I'm never going to be able to hire another person again. Nobody knows that because nobody ever looks it up. Strip out corporate money and make these people serve their time in office, two terms maximum, and go home. That's the way the founding fathers wanted it. They wanted it so this way the doctor, the nurse, the fireman, the lawyer, the contractor, whoever it was, the school teacher, would stop their life for a little bit, go serve their country as somebody who is in the world of making laws and creating bills, and then go back to their life. He didn't want somebody like Joe Biden. They didn't want Joe Biden spending 52 years and selling out this country to special interests, especially when those special interests are China, Russia, Ukraine, or whoever else it is that he's lined his pockets with.
It's honestly disappointing to hear about Massie, and I think that's just a greater example of sometimes that as much as I despise Democrats, there are Republicans there too that will try to paint the image they have your best interests in mind, and then you kind of do some digging. You're like, well, why wouldn't they support something so common sense such as E-Verify? I mean, if you're an avid watcher or listener to All Things DML, you have explained in detail why that is the most necessary program for this entire country. And then for a Republican that has always touted that he likes to hold Congress accountable, not giving support to that because someone that donates to him wouldn't benefit from it. It's just it's a clear example that we really just need a full cleaning of DC and how the federal government operates, because this just becomes a muddled mess of working in the interests of your donors rather than your voters.
And Donald Trump is the guy to do it. Donald Trump is the guy to clean up the mess, because Donald Trump, unlike every single last person that's in Washington, D.C., is not doing it for the money. He doesn't even take any money. He doesn't need the special interest money. He's the first person that will tell somebody to come into his office and try to buy him off to go screw yourself. You are not going to buy Donald J. Trump. You are not going to. That would mean he'd have to swallow his ego and have to swallow everything he believes in. And he's just too proud a man. Donald J. Trump is never, ever, ever going to be able to be bought. That's why people love him. I mean, usually, the normal person looks at the billionaire and says, oh, I can't stand that person. They don't understand what I'm going through. Yeah, I'm never going to think that for a moment Trump's going to know what it's like not to be able to pay the mortgage at the end of the month. But let me tell you, and every single month, but let me tell you something. When you got a guy who can't be bought, who's going to stand up and fight, even when you try to shoot him, I don't care whether he's rich, poor, or indifferent. That's a real American. That's a guy who's going to stand up for you. That's the kind of guy you want fighting for you. And that's the kind of guy who could rip down an establishment. And that's why they are so afraid of him. So with that being said, we thank you all for joining us here today. Don't forget to follow me now on my new account on X. I moved over there. What a great place it is. X.com/trustdml. Also, if you could go to DennisMichaelLynch.com, sign up for the Great American Newsletter. We send that out every single day. It gives you all the alerts and everything else we're doing all day, but it has all the news you want every single morning. People, I never got more emails about the newsletter than I did yesterday about yesterday's newsletter. People really liked it. If you haven't read it yet, you got to check it out. It's all about Barack Obama and why it is that he acts the way he does. And it all ties back to his father. So until the next time, God willing, tomorrow, may God bless you and your family, these United States, our entire military, and, of course, Donald J. Trump.
And today's teamed email blessing goes to Elisa Freeman.
Elisa, enjoy it and have a great day.
Dennis Michael Lynch podcasts every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DMail News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and teamed email.